Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and today it begins. That's right. We're going to do our first mock draft show based on the NFL draft being done. We can now look forward to our redraft leagues, not just dynasty around these parts. And of course, to help us go through and make the picks, D-Bro, Derek Brown, the King of Bros, our man about town, Scott Bachman, Mr. Dynasty himself. But this is redraft time. And from NFL Network, that's right, he's a famous fella. He also, once upon a time, was just my producer on a show back in the day. Look how far he's come. He's so famous now. Michael Florio, that's right. Florio, what's it feel like to go so far past beyond me over these last couple of years? It must feel really good.
Stop. No, it's awesome to finally get to do a show with you, Joe, for the listeners.
I know, right?
Every time I come on a show on Fantasy Pros, Joe hits me up, and I say, I can't wait to do the show with you, and then I show up, and they're like, yeah, Joe's not on this show. So I was shocked that I saw his face today.
That's called big time in you. That's what that's called. That's where I still once in a while can pull that. No, the truth is I still book the shows here. I'm just not always hosting on the NFL show, depending on the time of year. But I am very happy that I said, I've got this mock draft show. I'm going to make sure I get Florio face to face because I love you, Mike. You're one of my favorite people.
Likewise.
And it's great we can talk about our New York Mets and annoy everybody and feel really good about ourselves. But it's football, so we won't do that because Derek Brown will lose interest in about 10 seconds into the show.
You don't
today
want to talk Juan Soto, D-Bro?
I mean, I'd like to take him at the 1-1 here, but I think I have to take Jamar Chase. I'm at the 1 today, by the way, because it's just easier for me to host that way. Boggs is at 12, but in this mock draft, we've got the Florio D-Bro sandwich right in the middle of the draft. So this is going to be a fun time. Of course, we're using Draft Wizard. You can go run your mock draft simulations right now. Download the app wherever you get your apps from. We're just doing PPR, 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 QB. We got 6 bench, tight end, a flex. Keeping it simple for today. No defense, no kickers because whatever. But Boggs, before we jump in here, I just want to get your temperature. We are on the 12th of May as recording this. Mason Rudolph is your starting quarterback. How are you holding up?
I mean, look, I'm still here. We all know what's going to happen. 9-7 or 9-8, and make the playoffs. Lose by 30 to the Chiefs. Ravens.
Bills.
Whoever, Bills. Yeah. So we know what's going to happen. This is exactly what happens every year. I feel like I'm stuck in the Truman Show or something or whatever. Groundhog Day.
Well, remember, it could always be worse. You could be Derek Brown and the Saints right now, whose quarterback room is even.
They are not my team. I disavow.
Oh, you are renouncing them? Is this the public renouncing?
I have given up. Nope, I've given up hope.
You gonna be a Cowboys fan now that Pickens is there? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. I'll leave that to you, Boggs.
We're going to go ahead and start making the picks here. We're going to start this draft because I can feel everybody in the YouTube comments, skip to 3:35 because that's when the show begins. Live your life a little bit. Enjoy life. It's fun. We're having fun. We're hanging out with our friends here talking football. And, of course, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hang out with us, your friends who talk football. And, of course, drop your comments below, besides the ones that are skipped to 3:35, and then that's when the show starts. Let's also talk about strategy here because I got to tell you, Boggs, I've been going back and forth, running a couple mock drafts here on the simulator. I go back and forth. I like taking Bijan 1 because I like what comes back to me, but it's really difficult for me not to take Jamar Chase. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take Jamar Chase and continue to BPA the hell out of this thing as far as it goes. I know why Boggs wanted the 12 spot because he's going to probably get a look at some Henry, Jeanty, CMC combination there. It's going to be completely brutal. I know it. After I took Jamar Chase, Saquon goes 102. Team 3 takes Bijan Robinson, Jefferson to the 4. Florio, that puts you at the 5 spot. Very tempting issue here. You came in at the 4 and you decided to go right next to Derek Brown. I hope you don't regret that decision now.
Real quick, D-Bro, who do you want so Mike can take him?
Oh, it's too late. He already made his selection.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm okay with that.
So, Florio, let's walk through 105.
Yeah, I was sitting there. So I've done a few mocks already, and the one thing I continue to find is if I don't get wide receivers early by like the 5th round, I hate all the wide receivers that are left. So, and I know maybe this is partly because people drafting now are like us. They're fantasy football diehards and people who are this into it. They have strategies where you're loading up on wide receivers early and stuff. But yeah, to me, if you don't grab your first couple wide receivers early, you're gonna feel pretty thin at the position, I think. Whereas running back, I think is deeper than ever, or deeper than it's been in quite some time. So I don't mind waiting as much there, but mainly I really should have picked the guy who went 6 because yes, I would take CD over him, but I just want to stick it to Debro.
Oh, well, there you go. So you took CD Lamb. That was the pick at 105. And look, I think that you have to like the addition of George Pickens there to kind of free up Lamb a little bit more. You hope that Dak Prescott can have a bounce back, all of those fun platitudes that we're all thinking this time of year. But to your point, Florio, that's why I keep taking Chase at the 1 still, because when it comes back to me, I just don't like the rest of the Bills and those wide receivers that make it back as much as I can stomach some of their RBs, especially as we get later into the rounds. Some of these rookie running backs that I like a lot this year, I think there's some value there. Debro, that put you on the clock for 106. So who did you end up selecting?
Oh, it's Puka juice all the time, baby. I had to go Puka Nacua. I mean, you're looking at, and there was a lot of guys that I could make a case for here. I could have gone Brian Thomas Jr., could have gone CD, could have gone Puka, and that's where I ultimately landed on. Come on, guys. Like, if Stafford's fully healthy, this is still, I don't care that Devontae Adams landed there. This is still a consolidated offense. Both these guys are going to get 150, 160 targets. Nacua was the wide receiver 2 in fantasy points per game this year, and that was only scoring 4 touchdowns last year. So, like, he's got wide receiver 1 overall upside. And if you're taking a wide receiver in the first round of your draft, they have to have wide receiver 1 overall upside in the range of outcomes for me to really be interested.
Florio, while I got you here on the show for the next, hour, question for you. Saquon Barkley with the touches last year. We always practice the code of when you have over 400 touches in a year, the next year doesn't go very well. The data really supports that. Do you have that fear with Barkley, who also has injury history?
Yes. Not only does he have injury history and the historical data on all of that, he had, I think it's, I don't remember the exact number, but it's something around 100 more touches last season when you count the playoffs than any season in his career. So there's a lot kind of working against him there. And on NFL Fantasy Football Show, all of us are like fading Saquon, and we keep, like, the way we address Saquon is we're like, look, we know he's going to be a top pick. He's not going to be any of our top picks, but like, we know he's going to be top 5. We're just advocating that our listeners and your listeners today are not the ones doing so because, one, the wide receivers early, but 2, a lot of risks there. And I'm never a fan of paying for a career year because Saquon is not going to duplicate what he did last season.
Well, and I wanted to address that too because I know at the top I was mentioning Chase or Robinson being my 2 choices at the 1 pick. And to me, those are the 2 choices at the 1 pick, and for all the reasons that Florio laid out. Let's get a recap here of the rest of this first round. Jahmyr Gibbs goes 107, nice selection there. Then at 8, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devon Achane, all the way at 9. Intriguing there in the PPR. And then you got Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Scott Bogman at the turn. What does it look like, buddy?
Brian Thomas Jr., for one, like Florio said. You have to, it's an arms race at wide receiver. You just have to keep pace. So if you're picking on the end, I think one of those selections has to be a wide receiver. So Brian Thomas Jr., highest on my board, I went with him. And then the rookie, Ashton Jeanty to the Raiders. I just think he's going to have well over 300 touches. He resets the entire offense for that team. And Geno Smith, the way he plays quarterback, if I'm running that system, I'm handing the ball off to Jeanty a ton. So I just think we've seen him take the workload of Boise State. He was picked, inside the top 10 for this reason right here. So Ashton Jeanty, kind of an easy pick for me at the end here.
Did you die a little bit inside to not take Jeanty and McCaffrey? Because I know you.
No, I love McCaffrey. He's done well for a long time, and that's a pick that I'm absolutely going to be right about for the rest of my life with him coming into the league, but it's time. I don't believe anything the Niners say about him. How could you after last year, right? Like, how could you believe a thing that they say about him? So I'm not going to be drafting Christian McCaffrey. probably in many leagues at all this year.
All right, before we get to D-Bro's pick, he's got 15 seconds on the clock. He's thinking hard. Ashton Jeanty goes at the beginning here to Bogman of the second round, then Christian McCaffrey, Ladd McConkey, A.J. Brown, Drake London, Brock Bowers. So if you're wondering where Brock Bowers is going, he goes right before Derek Brown. D-Bro, I don't know if that bothered you or not, that Bowers went. I don't know if he was on your radar. I know you're a big Drake London guy now, too. But you went 207, selected an RB. Let's talk about it.
I was in between two different running backs, and I want to put this on record. I'm totally fine investing again in Derrick Henry this year. He's an outlier. Dude's going to be an RB1 until he decides to hang up the cleat, so I'm not worried about him. But I did go Bucky Irving here at this point, and again, it was Henry versus Irving for me. And the differentiator for me, because I have these two guys back-to-back, and I actually have Henry above Irving right now, but the differentiator for me is I could see a more of a pass game ceiling for Irving, where Henry, we kind of know we're getting there, especially with Lamar at quarterback. So Irving, I just took the shot because RB6 in fantasy points per game. If his pass game ceiling goes up this year, if the backfield is fully his, maybe shades even more in his direction in 2025, I mean, he could be a top 3 running back.
All right, so interesting assessment there. So passing on Derrick Henry and Michael Florio, you did not. I wouldn't either. I can't believe Henry lasted this long. I don't care if it's PPR, yards are yards, touchdowns are touchdowns. So Derrick Henry at 208. Let's get your take on that pick.
Yeah, I agree with D, bro. I have, to me, where I use the age and the fall off concerns are debating between two closely ranked players, right? And like Bucky Irving makes sense, or I have Ashton Jeanty, I know a lot of people do, ahead of Derrick Henry for those reasons. But at this point, the later portion of the second round, I'm look, he's still going to be tied to a Lamar Jackson offense, right? So he's still going to get fewer stacked boxes, and he's still going to be on one of the highest scoring offenses in football. So, yeah, even if he slows down from what his pace was last year, okay, he'll be top 6 running back. I believe in him. But I will say, I wanted to take another receiver here. I just didn't like any of the ones left. I really thought Ladd McConkey would be there. He's getting pulled up higher and higher, but I love Ladd McConkey in the middle to later portion of round 2.
All right, so there you have it, everybody. Let's continue to recap some of the picks here on the board. After Bucky Irving and Derrick Henry go, Tyreek Hill goes at 209, 210 Trey McBride, 211 Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then it's back to me. Boggs, while I'm making my picks, question for you. Tyreek Hill at 209, value or trap?
Man, Tyreek Hill's so hard to figure out. I'll say trap. I've been a Tyreek Hill guy for a long time. I don't know about this offense. I don't know about this coaching staff. Tyreek still has it. He seems to keep making these mistakes off the field as well. It's just I'm not going to invest in Tyreek Hill in the second round. If he falls to the third, I'll think about it.
All right, my picks are in. So in the wraparound here at the end of 212 and the beginning of 301, I took Garrett Wilson, the number 1 guy for Justin Fields and the Jets, and maybe the only target at the end of the day. But we know when Fields locks in on a guy, that's his dude. We saw it with DJ Moore. We saw it in a short sample with George Pickens, and I saw it in a larger sample size in a place called The Ohio State University. So I feel pretty good about this Garrett Wilson pick here. He was still a top 12 wide receiver last year. So regardless of all the downs of the Jets offense, Josh Jacobs at 301. I'm going to go ahead and take my RB there. I was tempted to take Higgins too. Then you have that whole debate within yourself. Do you want Chase and Higgins? Is probably enough to go around. Should I just take in Higgins and Chase Brown? Just take the Bengals and just hope for Joe Burrow in the 4th round. There's lots of ways I could have gone there. You know what? If there was going to be one offense that I would be okay just doing that with, I think it would be the Bengals. The defense still stays.
You don't think they fix the whole defense by one pick that's holding out? Come on.
I don't think they fixed any of the defense. How about that? Can I take it a step further? Devontae Adams goes at 302. That was a big temptation as well. Jonathan Taylor at 303. Chase Brown at 304. Michael Florio, you are back up, and you went running back here as well.
Yeah, I know I keep saying, I want receivers early, but I was looking at the names on the board. Yeah, I know, right? But I do think this is a lesson in, you should be willing to pivot. Because I was looking at the receivers on the board, and, you mentioned T. Higgins. I have a hard time pulling T. Higgins up this high. I understand that he deserves to go this high, and the Bengals offense is going to go off probably again because of how poor that defense is. But, he did things last year that he has never done before. I still have concerns about all the games that he has missed in recent years. Terry McLaurin was actually the receiver that I was debating taking here, but I still feel like Breece Hall has the most upside there. And I believe the Jets offense could reach a new level with Justin Fields and the new play caller here. So it was hard for me to pass up on the upside of Breece Hall.
Yeah, Tanner Engstrom, who comes over from the Detroit Lions as the new OC. He followed Aaron Glenn there. And look, that's why I'm so worried about the Lions, is because not only did they lose their offensive coordinator, but they lost the second in command too. And then the head coach, I was trying to say, the offensive coordinator now goes in your division. So you got to change a lot of things. That's just a big overhaul of an offense for me. A little too big at times. Breece Hall goes. So Debro, that puts you up at 306.
Yeah, there's a lot of different guys I could have gone with this one. I went with Mike Evans. Look, come on, guys. On a per route basis, he showed no fall off. I know that we could talk about getting older, hamstring issues. If he's healthy, he's going to be a wide receiver 1. We know what this looks like. The Buccaneers offense, and I'm not worried about the addition of Mecca Ibuka taking away targets away from Mike Evans. I'm not worried about that at all. So going with Evans here, where I looked at the rest of the wide receivers and running backs on the board, he just seemed like the guy that was standing out to me.
No, it certainly makes sense. Okay, so after Mike Evans goes, Josh Allen goes at 307, Rashee Rice at 308, T. Higgins at 309. So, wow, a big drop-off for him there. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen now both off the board. Now Lamar at 310. I would still take Lamar over Josh Allen. D-Bro, do you understand why it seems like the consensus every year is the opposite, and every year the point total ends up Lamar over Josh Allen? Am I missing something?
No, I don't think you're missing anything. I think it's just the allure of certain players, and I get it. I get it. People want to draft Josh Allen.
Whoa. I'm going to defend my boy.
I knew it.
It was last year
There
the points ended up higher. That was it.
I think it might have been one other time. I seem to remember another
2019.
MVP from Lamar Jackson season somewhere else in there where the
His
Professional
2023
gaslighting worked.
MVP season did not have more than Josh Allen.
I'm just saying, like
Florio
yeah, but
is
Josh,
hot
that was the
and
Josh
bothered.
Allen that had Stephon Diggs, and he doesn't have Stephon Diggs anymore. And I'm just keep coming back to that here. But
That's fair.
Alas, we'll continue on here. Another quarterback goes to 311, Jaden Daniels, and then Scott Bogman. 2 picks to you, 312 and 401, and Terry McLaurin, one of them, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, Kyron Williams, the other one here. But my thought process was like, maybe Mike Evans falls to me. Debro took him, right? Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll probably get one of my top 3 QBs here. And then they all went right before my pick. So I decided to pivot from QB. I went with Kyron just to add to that running back room. The Rams, yes, they drafted Jarquez Hunter. They still have Blake Corum, but they tend to go with one guy and give him the rock a bunch. I think I have 2 guys that carry the ball a lot with Jeanty and Kyron here. And then T-Mac, just the best wide receiver on my board. And as we mentioned, it's an arms race. A wide receiver, you have to keep pace here. So I went with T-Mac, another number 1.
Okay, next up then George Kittle at 402, Ken Walker at 403, Jalen Hurts at 404, Alvin Kamara at 405, followed by DJ Moore. D-Bro, back to you.
I know what I'm getting out of this player, and I think he's very underrated. I mean, wide receiver 15, 20, wide receiver 14 finishes over the last 3 seasons. We know we're going to get wide receiver production, 2 wide receiver production out of Devonta Smith. I mean, come on, man. As my wide receiver 3 on this team, I'll take that all day.
I don't blame you. I think I'm pretty good with that. Michael Florio, you're up next. And your selection was a guy I was very high on last year, and he got real good at running. That's what he got real good at. I wish the route tree was a little bit, had a couple more limbs. That's what I was looking for from that tree. But let's talk about Marvin Harrison at 408.
Yeah, I think a big part of what holds him back is also Kyler Murray. Like, I know it's easy to blame Marvin Harrison Jr. solely, but I
want to blame Kyler Murray. Make no mistake.
I don't think Kyler has, outside of the 1 year with D-Hop, has ever shown us that he can really elevate a wide receiver talent. But I'm sitting there at 408. Some of the names that I would have loved to fall to me, I mentioned like Terry McLaurin, but I didn't think he would. DJ Moore was one I was really hoping fell to me. But at this point here, I'm looking at the names and I'm like, I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball at wide receiver, so I want upside, and I still believe Marvin Harrison Jr. brings a really high ceiling. I mean, we talk about an 800-yard, 8-touchdown season like it was awful. So, I mean, I still think like it wouldn't surprise me if he's 1,010 this year. So, I still think there's room for growth on top of that. So I needed upside, and he kind of fits the bill there.
All right, let's continue on here. Before we do, I want to take a quick break and tell you about DraftKings because it's officially the best time of year for hoops fans. Playoff drama, buzzer beaters. Hey, the Knicks are in the playoffs. Anything's possible right now, and they're actually playing pretty well, although the Celtics did make a nice little comeback on them at MSG over the weekend. All the chaos that you live for with basketball. And if you're done just watching and sitting on the sideline, well, guess what? Now you can actually win some cash. You got to check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competition, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. That's right. So the playoffs are on. Get after it. So why not take a shot at making a little money right now while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now. Use that promo code FantasyPros. That's code FantasyPros. Play $5 and get 50 back in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's take a look at some more draft picks here. After Harrison, TJ Hawkinson at 409, Joe Mixon at 410, Travis Hunter at 411, and then your boy, Michael Florio, fell into my lap. James Cook after a huge season. Can he repeat the touchdown total? Probably not, but that's okay because I feel pretty good about Cook's usage in this offense from what I saw last year. And you know what? I just couldn't pass. I was going to take another wide receiver. I'll probably regret this. I ended up taking Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, that pairing. I think there could be some really good days there where I'm going to ruin someone's Sunday with that duo. That's just how I feel about it. Chuba Hubbard goes next at 502, then Zay Flowers at 503, DK Metcalf at 504, with Mason Rudolph under center. I just like saying it out loud. I just want to say it out there because that's what we're doing right now. That's where we are. Just need to. I'm trying to manifest.
Thought we were friends, Joe.
We are friends. That's why I'm stabbing you in the front. That's what friends do. All right. So Florio, where are you going with this next pick at 505?
I'm debating if I should take a wide receiver like I need, or if I should just reach on someone that would upset Debro a whole lot. That's truly what my thought process is right now.
That's a good
Oh, I know what you're gonna do. Go ahead.
What position do you think the one that I'm considering is?
I think it's running back.
What division?
Go ahead. I know where you're going. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mean,
I know where you're
Florio.
going. Pull the Band-Aid off, Florio.
All that
Do
fame
it.
has made you mean.
Do it.
I'm not gonna do it. I should do it, but
you should do it.
I'll
Just do
take
it.
my need. I went Chris Godwin,
Okay.
who I don't love.
It's okay.
What?
Immediate regret.
why did you
I
take
immediately
him?
regret this decision.
Like
Yeah,
he
I
was
mean-
the best receiver on the board, but this goes to my argument of like, this is why you want your receivers before round 5, so you're not drafting Chris Godwin as one of your starters. Like
No, I
Godwin
agree.
could be that, and he was awesome last year, but. One, I think Baker's a huge regression candidate. 2, new offensive coordinator. And then Godwin is coming off of another injury. Just like, he could be great. But these are all just little red flags that give me some concern.
Fair enough. Debro, you got 20 seconds. What's the selection for you?
I'm in between a few different running backs. I'm actually going to go down the board. I'm probably going to get a reach alert for this one. I'm going to take Tony Pollard here, man. I mean, the
I
workload
like
is
that.
definitively there for him. Top 24 running back last year. Getting Cam Ward. Hopefully the offensive line is better this year. I think they do get better offensive line play. Question is how much. But a guy that was, I mean, come on, he was RB15 and expected fantasy points per game. So I can't shy away from that.
No, I think it's a solid pick there in the 5th round. And when I was doing some of the mocks before the show, I had some shares and some things of different roster looks with Tony Pollard. And that's a great thing about Draft Wizard, right? You don't like the way the mock is going, well, you just restart that bad boy, or you undo a couple picks and you go backwards, like Michael Florio is going to want to do in a couple rounds after Chris Godwin.
508 was the groan. That's exactly who I was considering.
I just saw it too, and I was like, I didn't think he was going to be gone. So again, maybe playing the ADP
Have you
games.
learned nothing here? You're drafting with the dynasty, man. Let's get to what
Don't
everyone's
like it.
groaning about. Roma Dunze at 507, then RJ Harvey at 508, Chris Olave at 5'9, Cortland Sutton, who was the other guy I was actually contemplating at 501. I was shocked he lasted as long as he did. Really solid season for him. Ted McMillan at 5'11. Is it the Scott Bogman pick right here that we are groaning over,
I
gentlemen?
think it was 508.
It was 508.
508.
Oh, it was the R.J. Harvey
I
pick that you
didn't
were
think
groaning
he
at.
was going to go that early.
Well, the bots
That
are
was the
good
player
over
that
here.
I was
We're not like those other
teasing.
crappy mock draft places that have like the bad bots. We got the A+ bots here. So yeah, that's how we roll.
That's exactly where I thought you were going to go to, Florio. I knew you were teasing it up.
All right, Boggs, let's talk about your picks here because you took Hampton at 512 and Xavier Worthy at 601.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that Xavier Worthy could be the best wide receiver on the Chiefs right now, including Rashee Rice. He's not coming off an injury either. We saw the playoff run, specifically the Super Bowl, where he was incredible. The only Chief that really showed up was Xavier Worthy, it felt like, in that game. But also, Omarion Hampton, for a run-first offense under Jim Harbaugh, he's already a better running back than Najee. I've watched Najee for years. He's an unbelievably awesome human being. I love Najee Harris. But I think in terms of being a running back, I think Omarion Hampton is probably already better than him. So, yes, maybe it's going to be a little bit more split than I would like year one here, but I think Hampton's skill takes over pretty quick, and he gets the main run. So I'm stacking running backs. I have, 2 starters and a flex option for somebody getting hurt, and I have 3 starting wide receivers. I like how this board has turned for me down here at pick 12.
Florio, let's talk about that situation here because I know Derek and I have discussed it at length. I'd like to get another take in here, too, about Omarion Hampton and when that happens because it could very well happen with a veteran head coach and a veteran running back much later than you want it to for fantasy. Are you somebody that's willing to take that plunge with Hampton in about the 5th, 6th round capital in that kind of realm, hoping that it happens sooner than later?
I think it's gonna happen later than people anticipate. Like I think that this regime brought in Najee Harris too, right? Like it's not like, to me, the Patriots are very different because like Travion Henderson is the new regime's guy, whereas Stevenson is the old one. This regime brought both of these dudes in, and they're both of their specialties, in my opinion, is that they are able to handle so much volume. I don't think there's a world where Najee Harris ever completely goes away. I think Omarion Hampton could take over more and more and could be the lone fantasy guy come the end of the year. But Najee Harris is going to be a thorn in the side. I wouldn't be surprised if they split drives or if it was like 2 out of every 3 drives went to Hampton at some point, something like that. But then I don't think this is getting enough talking point. After the draft, the Chargers put the non-restricted free agent tender on J.K. Dobbins, meaning that if he signs anywhere else, they now get a comp pick, which is going to make life harder on J.K. Dobbins to go somewhere else. And if Dobbins ends up back with the Chargers, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. And I know that might sound crazy, but that would have sounded crazy.
We talked about it last week on the show.
In March.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
We're in May now, and he's still available.
We had that same discussion on the show last week. If you missed it, I think it was the one Erickson, Debro, and I were on. Go watch it on demand on the YouTube channel. But yeah, to me, it's that same problem. It's like it could get real messy there. After we have those selections, Jameson Williams, George Pickens at 603, 604, Aaron Jones, Jerry Jeudy at 605, Juwan Jennings goes, and then Debro, you went running back again.
Yeah, I mean, look, after starting out hammering wide receivers with Puka Nacua, Mike Evans, Devonta Smith being my starting 3, I'm backfilling volume for the running back position. So with Irving, got Pollard, and now James Conner, man, he was healthy last year, stays healthy again this year. I don't think you're going to see Trey Benson. They re-signed him. He was still one of the most per-touch efficient running backs in the NFL. I think he's got at least one more season left in him.
That's who I was between. I was between Connor and Hampton. I just see more upside in the offense for Hampton. Also, James Conner is always an injury risk. Stayed healthy last year for the most part, but he's always a little bit of an injury risk. So I just went younger.
Florio, that puts you on the clock there. Where are you going?
I took Brandon Ayuk, who feels a little underrated to me. I know he's coming off of an injury, but last year it got cut short, but it wasn't the year we wanted when he was on the field. But 2 years ago, he's coming off of arguably the most efficient receiver season in NFL history. So I still believe he can get back to that. And now there's less target comp there with Debo gone. So Brandon Ayuk is a player that I look, we're still very early in the process, but I would not be surprised if I have him on a lot of teams this season.
What's your stance on the Debo Samuel now that you mentioned him?
I think he's a better real-life player at this point than fantasy. Like, I have no interest in taking him for fantasy, but I think he helps Jaden Daniels because that gives him like Jaden last year in yards that came after the catch was league average. Debo had more yak than any of the Commanders receivers last year. So I don't love him personally for fantasy, but I think he helps uplift everyone else in that Commanders offense a bit.
Boggs, do you have any thoughts on Debo this year? He's a guy that's still floating around that board, just out of curiosity.
I mean, I would echo what Florio said. I think he's a better real-life player than a fantasy player. His touches in this offense could be a little bit more limited as well. We'll see. I know they're going to set up stuff for him, but the running back carries have also, they have not helped with the longevity of his career. We know that. So, he's a yak guy, always has been a yak guy, but there's a lot of contact in that. So, yeah, he's not my favorite either.
All right, so after James Conner, Brandon Ayuk goes to Florio, and then Stephon Diggs goes at 609. Intriguing selection there if he's healthy with Drake May, who I have high expectations for this year. Jalen Waddle at 610. I'm glad I didn't have to make that decision because I would have been pulling my hair out. Haha, jokes. Evan Ingram at 6'11". That's a little early. I got to tell you, I was kind of looking at this board. He went before Sam Laporta, and I know we're like high on Evan Ingram in this potential Broncos offense, but still, that's aggressive. It wouldn't shock me if that happens. Laporta's a tough one because number 1 tight end 2 years ago, last year, fell off a little bit all the way to tight end number 8. So you got to kind of see where you want to take a shot. Tight end's a little weird this year as it continues on. I decided to bulk up at wide receiver. Jordan Addison at 6'12". JJ McCarthy, I've got faith in. I think he's going to be just fine. And last year, Jordan Addison finished as wide receiver 21, 9 touchdowns with Sam Darnold. And I think JJ is going to be okay. And Khalil Shakir is my 4th wide receiver, too. Another guy who finished right on the fringe of wide receiver 3. I think there might be some more upside here as he continues to grow into that role with Josh Allen. David Montgomery at 702, followed by Dak Prescott at 703. Pat Mahomes at 704. Florio, you're on the clock at 705.
I just cannot quit this player, Calvin Ridley. For years, I've been getting sucked in, and after last year, I was like, maybe I need to be done. But then they get the number 1 pick. And I think there is a world where Cam Ward is easily better than the tandem that was throwing Ridley the ball last year. I think you can make an argument, though, that he might be the best quarterback throwing Ridley the ball since Matt Ryan, since pre-suspension Calvin Ridley. And look, you look at their wide receiver room and stuff. Calvin Ridley could get 150 targets this year because they're going to probably be throwing a lot and there's not a lot of competition there. So as my 5, I'm chasing upside at this point. I love what Calvin Ridley brings.
Okay, I hate one of Derek Brown's
go.
picks. It really made me annoyed. Let's get to that one. So I mentioned Sam Laporta going after Evan Ingram, and he went to Derek Brown. But that's not the pick I hate. I hate the other one you made after the next round. Because I had them all queued up, ready to rock, and then there it went. So let's talk about Sam Laporta first here. So, Debra, how do you view the tight end position this year in fantasy? Because this is when we're all starting to really group together and start to make our assessments of when to invest. So obviously must have felt right for you for Laporta here at 706.
If we're going to get this kind of value on Sam Laporta, and I'll just talk the board here for a second, the 2 guys that stood out to me, if we're going to get this type of value on Sam Laporta and Mark Andrews this year, sign me up. I'm going to be drafting these guys a ton where they're going because I think you're looking at 2 players, and I'll lump them together, that started off the year slow. Laporta on the back half of the season, weeks 10 through 18, this dude was on pace for over 900 receiving yards. So I think you're looking at a player that coming off of the hyped rookie season going into last year, everybody was burned by drafting him early. Now, if we're going to get this kind of value, sign me up.
All right, let's sign up some more picks here. Isaiah Pacheco goes at 707, then Baker Mayfield. Jacoby Myers, nice value there at 709 with a big improved quarterback situation, very much improved. Travion Henderson at 710, Quinshon Junkins at 711, and then Boggs, you're up for 2 picks. What do you have?
Yeah, I hated the way this board broke because I had Ridley, Laporta, Henderson, and Judkins all in my queue here. I went with Ricky Pearsall when those guys didn't make it to me. Just the upside is incredible. I know the Niners have a lot of targets, but I just think that the way that Ricky Pearsall finished off the year means that, to me, he's going to be a main target here. And then the tight ends are all kind of looking the same. I thought a little bit about maybe reaching on Travis Kelce, but I went with Bo Nix. The quarterbacks are getting just a little bit thin, so I went with Bo Nix. I really like I like him and RJ Harvey in this backfield together. I think we might see a big grip of rushing touchdowns from Bo Nix to add on to what he did last season. So also excited about them adding Pat Bryant, the way Sean Payton talked about him being, Michael Thomas-esque. I mean, I think Payton's done that to a couple guys, but I really do love his enthusiasm for Pat Bryant. I like this Broncos offense now with the additions of Bryant and Harvey, and I think it's going to help Bo Nix in the long run.
Well, Harvey certainly is going to help him in the long and short term. Cooper Kupp at 802, no interest. I'm good. DeAndre Swift at 803, Travis Kelce 804, Tyrone Tracy at 805. So Scatterbo alert has officially begun. We have next Jaden Reed at 806 and Derek Brown at 807. And you're a jerk, D-Bro.
To the pick that got everybody to groan.
I don't think it would have made it to me. I think Florio might have done it. Florio, would you have done it if he was on the board?
Yes.
Okay, so
he was never getting back to you,
away.
Joey. Never getting back to you. You're going to give me
figured as
Caleb
much.
Johnson in the 8th round? Oh, sign me up, dude. Like, I just want everybody to understand this. Najee Harris got 299 touches last year. 299. And I love Jalen Warren. But you're telling me Caleb Johnson, who's actually explosive in the Najee Harris role, I think his floor is somewhere around 240, 250 touches. If that's the case, dude, he's going to flirt with RB2 value. On this team, again, I'm backfilling after going wide receiver early. I'm backfilling running back volume. He's my RB4 on my team. So if James Conner goes down, I mean, this could be a guy that's carrying me down the back half of the season.
No, I love it. Again, he's not going to work a ton in the passing game necessarily, but I don't care. He's going to have the touchdowns, and they're going to have to run the football a lot in Pittsburgh. A whole lot. Next up, Florio, 808. That selection goes to you. What do you have?
I love it. I love it. I cannot wait to talk about this.
hate it.
Save
I
it for
hate
the
all
ninth
things
round.
here. I hate
Keep your
it.
powder dry. Save it for the 9th round. We'll talk about it soon. Let's talk about 808 first.
I went with Cam Scatterbo, who I love. I would have took Caleb here, but I also love Scatterbo because
Yeah.
I think he's going to be their lead back. I know Tyrone Tracy played pretty well last season. He is a converted wide receiver. To me, he is a perfect number 2 running back behind someone who could handle a ton of volume like Cam Scatterbo, who is so big, who is elusive, physical, and look, obviously everyone likes him for this, but like most dynamic running back in this class, in my opinion. He could line up out wide in the slot. You could do so much with him. I think we're going to get a lot of 2 running back sets with them. I think we're going to get he's going to be the goal line guy and stuff. I think he brings top 24 upside in year 1.
I agree. And we know Bogman has a slight enthusiasm about Cam Scatterbo. Look, fumbles are fumble. Like Scatterbo's had some fumbles. Tracy had fumbles at the NFL level. I think the Scatterbo energy is what's so interesting because I could feel it being infectious and just taking over. New York media market. The way he plays the game and Boggs. I don't think it's too early here. I think as soon as you see Tracy go off the board, you're safe to go take Scatterbo and be aggressive, and that's what Florio did here.
I mean, look, the rookies have pushed some vets out of jobs here. I think that I'm with Florio, obviously, 100%. I think Cam is going to push Tracy to more of a, backup role. And, he can line up at slot. He's a converted wide receiver, so there's still a lot of meat on the bone there. But I think he's such a good value where Florio took him. I'm all over Cam Scatterbo this year. Obviously, everyone knows it. You guys have read the comments. They're not very nice to me. So I get it.
Whatever.
But,
just be right.
Yeah.
Just be
look,
right.
That's it. All you got to do is be right here. And
I'm not saying it's going to live forever, but I think it's going to live in 2025. I think I just got a feeling about it. All right, Brian Robinson goes next at 809. And I'd rather take Scatterbo than Robinson, right? Like, to me, there's far more upside in what Scatterbo brings to that offense. Josh Downs at 810, Kyler Murray at 811. I took Mark Andrews at 812 because although he had quite a slow start to the season, he did have a few touchdowns here and there. He had a touchdown in every single game from week 6 on, save one, week 9. Every other game he had a touchdown. And last time I checked, he's still the security blanket there for Lamar Jackson. And then I took Deebo Samuel at 901 as my wide receiver 4, which I think is 5, which is exactly where I want him. Wide receiver 5, he's a fill-in guy. Maybe I get some good games from him on bye weeks. I think that is a very good place for Deebo Samuel if you can get him there. Christian Kirk at 902, then Michael Pittman at 903, Ramondre Stevenson 904. The groans, I believe, was for Michael Florio's pick where he selected Justin Fields. Now, if you dial back the first weeks of the season, last week through week 6, Justin Fields was a top 10 fantasy quarterback. And you know what? He finds himself in an offense here that I think is a good offensive mind, better than maybe Arthur Smith might be. Just putting that out there. Maybe. Anything's possible. But let's talk about Justin Fields here and the upside in fantasy. It might not always look pretty for the Jets, but I think the totals in fantasy are going to be very good for fantasy managers.
Yeah, and only Lamar Jackson has more touchdowns on outside zone runs in the last 3 seasons, and no one has more yards at the QB position. And now the Jets, who were already top 5 in outside zone runs last season, brought in the new, like we were talking about earlier, the new OC from Detroit, who were top 6 in those runs. So I think there's going to be a lot of design runs, a lot of outside runs for Justin Fields. But even more than that, my philosophy is like, after the top 5 QBs, there's a clear-cut top 5 in my opinion. Mm-hmm. After that, there is a blob of about 15 names that I think you could shake up and just put out, and I wouldn't be surprised in however order you have them in, because some bring safety, some bring upside and stuff. So my thinking is, if I miss out on these top 5 QBs, I'm going to double dip at the QB position. Why not get the upside first, which is why Mahomes is my QB 6, because I still believe after the top 5, no one brings more upside, and Justin Fields is my QB 7, because I think he brings the second most upside of that group. So I think I'm going to be the Justin Fields guy in fantasy this year. I've done a lot of mocks.
I was the Justin Fields guy last year. Debro knows, because he lived that life live with me in that flex league draft where I took him and everyone was like, why'd you take him so early? I'm like, because he's the best quarterback for the Steelers in fantasy, and I want him in the first couple weeks of the season. I looked pretty right. And then, unfortunately, Mike Tomlin got in my way.
But he doesn't have to worry about that this
That's
year.
right.
He
Mike
is
Tomlin's
the clear-cut
gone out of his
starter
life
for the Jets. And
we've
seen him put up top
situation.
5 QB1 numbers for stretches in fantasy. So I've done a lot of mocks. I pretty much leave every single mock I've done or draft, best ball, whatever it is, with Justin Fields. And I'm taking him as like QB 9, 10. But again, I would take him as early as QB 7.
I think that's fair. And I got to tell you, that was also my philosophy going into this draft. I could not pass on Burrow when he fell. And I had Chase, so I just figured, that'll be a good time. Let's do that. But Debro, what's your consolation prize? Because you are not happy. If you want to extol the virtues of Justin Fields at this draft spot, you may do so now. And then you can talk about your pick.
Florio, you suck. That one hurt, dude. Like I had him in my queue for like 3 rounds ago, and I was like, all right, it's gonna be Fields time in a few rounds. We're gonna love life. Like, if he's starting, he's a QB1 in fantasy. Like, it's just that simple with his rushing upside and his floor. So looking at after Fields got that rug got pulled out from underneath my feet, I'm going to bet on the bounce back season for CJ Stroud at this point in the draft. I mean, we could say whatever we want to about the offensive line. I think collectively we still believe it's going to be better. How much better we can all talk about, but it's going to be better than it was last year. They added more weapons around him. And so I think you're going to see. Now, can he go back to being rookie season CJ Stroud? We'll see. But I think he can still be a top 12 quarterback in fantasy. So I'm going to take the swing here.
I think my concern is, look, I love the coach there. I think the only question I think you have is the offensive line, right? Still, because if you can't protect him, it doesn't matter how much talent you have at wide receiver. If you can't keep him upright, you can't keep him healthy. So that's still where I keep getting hung up on Stroud, because I'm writing up the quarterbacks for Black Book right now, and that's what I keep struggling with Stroud. It's like, I love Higgins. I love all these guys they brought in. It sounds really good. Like, I'm excited, but I'm still concerned a little bit here. Travis Etienne at 907, Jalen Warren at 908, Javonte Williams at 909, then Najee Harris, Tajee Spears, Scott Bogman for 2 picks here. End the 9th and begin the 10th.
Yeah, I'm going to take Zach Charbonnet because I wanted one of Etienne, Warren, or Javonte, and 5 running backs went straight in front of me after you guys took the QB. So I figured better, grab on a hold of this RB run. I took Zach Charbonnet. Well, I still believe in the talent. I do still think Ken Walker's a better RB than him, but he's very, very good, just stuck in a weird situation. And I upset Florio by taking his boy Keon Coleman on the bounce back here. I think that, they didn't go out of their way to get another big name at wide receiver. I think they're going to trust the process. We know McDermott is famously tough on rookies. So I think Coleman is in for a big bounce back this year.
Okay, so after
I
Coleman,
do want to point out.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
2 of the 4 of us have drafted Bills, and I am not one of them.
That's
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've gone heavy bills. I've got 2 of them here. I've got
Yeah,
Cook
I
and
have
I've
none.
got Shakir. You have none. So look, it's all about good offensive ecosystems. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. If you look at my team build right now, I've got Bengals in there. I've got Buffalo
why I don't
Bills
have
in
any
there.
Steelers, Joe.
That's there you go.
There's
That's a
still
hell of a
time for you
point.
to amend that, Bachman. Still time.
Got Ravens in there. I want good offensive ecosystems, guys who are going to score fantasy points because their quarterback is good, their coach is good, the offensive line is good. After Coleman, Austin Eckler, Matthew Golden at 10:03. Maybe it's definitely not the Fitzy bot at Team 10. Rico Dowdle at 10:04. Jonnu Smith at 10:05 off a huge year. Team 7 then selects Rashad White. Debro, 10:07. One of my favorite guys, Trey Harris, 10:07. Let's go.
I got the reach alert, and I don't care, guys. He should be going somewhere around here, if not a little bit earlier. All we need to do is get to camp. He's running ahead of Quinn Johnston. He's running ahead of Mike Williams, the ghost of Mike Williams. I mean, Trey Harris is going to crush, man. One of my loves in the entire draft cycle. So I think it was a fantastic landing spot, and I'm here for the 10th round. Yeah, we're taking upset swings.
Sounds good to me. Speaking of swings here, a swing for Michael Florio on a Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver.
I can't again. Like I was saying earlier, I think Mahomes has the highest upside after the top 5, and the reason I know he hasn't been good in fantasy. The reason I think that though is because they have speed at wide receiver, and you could say they had speed at receiver last year, but did they? Like Marquise Brown was taken from us before the year even started. Rashee Rice looked like he was going to be a league winner for the first month until he was taken from us, and then Xavier Worthy, we know the slow walk that the Chiefs do with their rookies, and he started to blossom as the year went on. But Mahomes had the lowest air yards per attempt last year. Like and the offense was noticeably broken. So I think if you're the Chiefs, you need to get that deep ball back. And Marquise Brown is the specialty there. I know he'll be inconsistent week to week, but as my wide receiver 6, I think there's upside there. And a better and best ball type of receiver, but I can never quit Marquise Brown.
Okay, can't quit him. Next up, Tank Bigsby at 10:09, then Darnell Mooney, Jordan Mason, now in Minnesota. I went double up wide receiver with Jalen McMillan. Great flourish to the end of the last season. I know it's a crowded room, but again, he was a touchdown machine. Adam Thielen at 11:01. Again, you can't keep this guy down. It's unbelievable. Ted McMillan's there now, but I still think Adam Thielen will have a role in this offense. Rashid Shaheed goes 11:02, Jerome Ford 11:03, Dobbins at 11:04, and then back to you, Florio. Another QB?
Yeah, because for me, like I said, if I'm not getting one of the elite QBs, I'm going upside, and like I grabbed Justin Fields. But I'll admit, like, as much as we all love Justin Fields, the floor isn't necessarily always the safest. So I like to grab another QB here later on just to cover my bases a bit. And I think Caleb Williams has been the biggest winner of the offseason this year. You get Ben Johnson. They rebuilt the O-line. They added even more weapons to an already good group of receivers. So I'm feeling really good about Caleb. I think he is a QB1, but you don't have to pay a QB1 price to get him.
That's the best kind of QB, the cheaper one. Bayshell Tootin goes next here to Derek Brown, the speedster in Jacksonville. Let's talk about him.
All upside, man. You get to these later rounds, I want upside. I want guys, and a lot of this is going to lead me to younger players, rookies and stuff. I mean, I've done that with Caleb Johnson, taking Trey Harris now, Bayshell Tootin. I mean, again, Jacksonville drafting him where they did, we could be looking at how I've composed this team. I don't need Tootin to even be a flex play for me. But down the back half of the season, he be a guy that I'm starting every single week, either in my flex or, heck, depending on how the rest of the roster looks like, my RB2, it's possible, man. So I want to draft him here.
Okay, so after that selection by Derek Brown of Tootin, which I'm all in on as well, nice late round running back, Luther Burden, then Jaden Blue, David Njoku at 11:10, Ray Davis, Tucker Kraft, Scott Bogman, you took Kraft, and Garendo. I was hoping he would make it back to me. He did not. That's a very cagey pick at this stage in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had to have a tight end, so Tucker Kraft is it. Nice floor. It's fine. This is where we're at with tight ends. I just have to have one. So it's either take him or take the upside shot. I know what I'm getting with Tucker. I can get a high upside guy later. And then Garendo, like I said before with Christian McCaffrey, I just don't believe anything the Niners tell us. They traded away Jordan Mason. They did draft Jordan James, but I think Garendo is the guy right behind CMC. They like what they saw from him last year. That's why they traded Mason. And I think that he may see a lot of time late in the season or early in the season, depending on how quickly CMC goes down, because I just don't trust him to stay on the field anymore.
No, I think the Garendo pick is really smart. I like it. 13th round, 12th round, that's a perfect spot. Jaden Higgins goes at 12:02, then Trey Benson. We'll see if he's got anything better in store for us in year 2 at 12:03. Tyler Algier at 12:04. Dalton Kincaid, 12:05. Roshan Johnson, and then Debro going wide receiver in Vegas, baby.
Again, clear upside to playing time, targets, Jack Besh. I mean, he's going to be a starter from week 1, and looking at players, whether if he hits the ground running, anything happens to Bowers or Jacoby Myers, we know Besh is going to be getting a ton of targets. And, hey, rookie camp right now, word's already really, really good out there right now about Jack Besh getting open consistently.
Next up, Michael Florio at 12:08, and you went tight end.
Yeah, my first tight end. My approach with tight end this year is like if I don't get Bowers or McBride, I'm probably just going to wait. And that's what I did here. And I waited. I took Colson Loveland. I pair him with Caleb Williams. I got a little bear stack there. And Loveland, not only does he get Ben Johnson, who not only loves him, like handpicked him and said, you are our Sam Laporta, who, remember, Sam Laporta finished as the tight end 1 in this exact system 2 years ago. So might be a little bit slow out the gate, like rookie tight ends tend to be. But I think there is a lot of upside there.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, and I love what you did coming back, too. We'll talk about that in a second. Rashad Bateman at 12:09, Jalen Wright 12:10, Marshawn Lloyd in year 2. We'll see if he's any good. Braylon Allen went to me at the turn, and then I took Cedric Tillman, who unfortunately last year, nice little spurt there from him in terms of performance. I always like the player, like the prospect. Then concussions, unfortunately, ended his season too early. Jake Ferguson, 13:02, Jared Goff, Blake Corum, and then you went and did it again, Florio. You took Tyler Warren, so I love this. You took 2 big-time prospect tight ends. Hopefully you play the matchups or one of them becomes a stud.
Yeah, and like I know everyone's saying Tyler Warren, target comp, bad QB play, bad offense, stuff like that. All stuff that they were saying about Brock Bowers last year at this time. So just rolling the dice on the upside. Although I do want to say, Tyler Warren, why do you guys do him dirty? He's the only player with the glasses on the draft
board. He does
board.
have the glasses. Well, look, if he had that look in his Fantasy Bros picture, there's nothing we could do about it. We told him what he could choose from in school that day. He didn't want the laser background. Instead, he chose the glasses. That's what you get.
He looks like a history teacher, which is fine. It's better than Brock Bowers, who kind of looks like one of the fitness instructors at Planet Fitness.
Yeah,
So.
he's more of an adjunct professor vibes. That's what's going on there.
Yeah.
So after Tyler Warren goes, Debro, you took another quarterback. You took JJ.
Yeah, man, if I'm wrong on C.J. Stroud, I mean, I'm taking swings on J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy is the reason I think you can wait on quarterback. If it's not Justin Fields, it's J.J. McCarthy. We all just saw Sammy Darnold, yes, that's Sam Darnold, put up a QB9 in fantasy points per game season with the Vikings. Dude, J.J.'s a better player than Sam Darnold. What do we think J.J. is going to do in this offense?
That's why I took Addison. I'm fine about it. Keenan Allen, still a free agent, goes next. We'll see where he signs soon. Kareem Hunt, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, Devin Neal. Bogman, you took another QB here, Justin Herbert, and then Emeka Egbuka. So playing the long game here, I see, with Egbuka in that Bucks wide receiver room.
I don't know if it'll be the long game, honestly, because Chris Godwin is coming off a major injury. Who knows what he looks like to start? And he's already better than Jalen McMillan, Egbuka is. So it was a surprising pick. But I think the first round pick allows me to select him in the last round of this draft, right? Because it's such a crowded room. Mike Evans is old. Chris Godwin's coming off a major injury. Baker threw 40 touchdowns last year. So I just think that you're going to see a lot of production from everybody in this offense. Maybe a little more split than we want, but he's also my 6th wide receiver. So I think it's a pretty good deal. I wanted McCarthy. I wanted to swing on McCarthy. I'll admit that. I think it's such a good pick for your second QB. The system is so pass heavy. Everything Debro just said is outstanding about McCarthy. But I do have Herbert ranked ahead of him. I think if I'm looking for a steady Eddie, it's still Herbert. So since Debro went and took the swing on McCarthy, I settled on my guy I do have higher ranked, but may not have as much upside as McCarthy in Justin Herbert. I'm excited to watch him throw rainbows to Trey Harris. I think that combo is going to be incredible.
Me too, because he's on my dynasty team. After Ibuka, last round here, Marvin Mims, Damian Martinez, Romeo Dobbs, DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Palmer, Debro. You went Kyle Williams. I like that pick. Upside there for the wide receivers. On the Patriots, Dylan Sampson went to Florio, Isaiah Likely, then Quentin Johnson, Brock Purdy, and I'm going to take my other quarterback too for S's and G's, and it's a guy who had 400 yards rushing in just 13 games. It's Drake May, much faster than people realize. All right, B plus says Draft Wizard. All right, I'll take the 88. Let's see the full analysis and see where everybody landed at the end of the day. Let's see Scott Bogman, the big winner at number 1. Look at you making the 12 spot work. Debro at number 2. I came in at number 4, but I also hosted, so I'll give myself number 3 because I'm doing more work than everybody else. Michael Florio, you finished. Not last, but you finished, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Let's talk about some of the hot takes. It looks like Joey Wright likes my draft. Friend of the show and a friend of mine. He enjoyed my draft more than anybody else. Thanks, Joe. Joe stick together. Also looking at some of the early things here. Scott Bogman and Derek Brown gave me thumbs down. So you guys are jerks.
You suck.
Yeah. Forget it. Debro, when you come to my house, you can Uber Eats. I'm not cooking for you anymore. Let's look at the analysis of some of these teams as well. Since Scott Bogman, you won the draft here, let's talk about your team and take a look at your draft board. I assume you feel pretty good about this squad. Bo Nix, Ashton Jeanty, Kyron Williams, then Brian Thomas Jr., Terry McLaurin, Xavier Worthy. It's a fast bunch, isn't it, here? Tucker Kraft, Amarian Hampton, and then you have Pearsall, Herbert, Charbonnet, Egbuka, Keon Coleman, and Garendo. It's a pretty solid roster. I love that Garendo pick at the end, Boggs. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like this team. I'll say this. I don't like having Tucker Kraft as my starting tight end, but I felt like just being on the end, I kept not getting the guys that I want. Obviously, they would just go a couple picks ahead of me. I decided to pivot because I saw it at the end, and I ended up stuck with Tucker Kraft. I think he's fine for the upside, but I would have preferred maybe if Florio hadn't taken one of those young tight ends. Maybe I get one on the backswing as well for some upside. But I like the strategy, obviously. Great work there, Florio. But, yeah, I like this team. I'm solid at running back. I know you guys think Najee's better. Najee's on a one-year deal, right? Like, they're not committed to him at all outside of this season. So I think if Hampton takes over quick, it's Hampton fast. So I think we're basically going to be split on that pick. But the rest of it, I really do like. Just Jeanty is the only guy. Kyron is typically the only guy with the Rams. These guys are getting a massive amount of carries, and I have some backups with some upside as well. So like the wide receivers as well. BTJ is the number 1. McLaurin's the number 1. I think Worthy ends up as the number 1. So
okay.
I like the way I built this team.
Yeah, I do too. I got to say, I think the Draft Wizard did you dirty, Florio, because I love your squad. Justin Fields, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall. My God, that's pretty good. Then the wide receiver core, CeeDee Lamb, Marvin Harrison, Chris Godwin. The tight ends, you got Loveland, you got Warren. Your flex, you got Ridley. Then the bench is Ayuk off the injury, Scatterboo, Caleb Williams, Hollywood Brown, and Dylan Sampson. I think this is a strong team, Florio. How do you feel about it now you're looking back?
I think a reason. Well, one, I don't have home field advantage here. Like it's literally telling me like Debro hates your draft, so I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense.
It's my home field, and he hates my draft too. So what are you worried about?
That's the first thing it said. I'm like, all right, yeah,
that
I would
means it's
expect
probably
that.
good.
He was one pick
As I'm
next
smiling.
to me.
That means you did really well if he hates your draft. That's what I think.
I think the reason, like, my teams often get graded poorly when I draft because I'm not drafting to have a good starting lineup. Like, I used to draft that way, and I would feel really good heading into my seasons, and then by, like, week 3, I'd be like, ugh. So, like, now I'm targeting upside and like, adding, like, trying to... Look, I added 6 wide receivers before I had a quarterback or a tight end. Like, I don't think draft models are going to agree with that. But for me, I like it because upside, like Debro was saying, upside is what wins fantasy football championships. And especially if you could get upside at like QB and tight end, I think that is where you could really set yourself apart.
All right, Debro, let's look at your squad here. C.J. Stroud at QB. The running backs are Bucky, Irving, James Conner. Then you got Puka, Mike Evans, Devonta Smith, Sammy Laporta, Tony Pollard, and then Caleb Johnson, J.J. McCarthy, Bashal Tutin, Trey Harris, Jack Besh, Kyle Williams. I love the I love the upside of youth of this team that you've got here. How do you feel about it?
I love this team. I layered a lot of like still really efficient veterans, or maybe guys that we haven't seen a true ceiling for in my starting lineup. And yeah, I legit went all upside, all rookies on my bench outside of JJ McCarthy. And again, we are so early in this process for redraft and what we're going to hear out of camp and stuff for these guys. But I mean, come on, man. It's either second-year players or a lot of rookies that are carrying people to fantasy championships. So if I'm looking at, like, all of this roster and I'm saying, okay, fine, like, Kyle Williams isn't doing it in camp, then I'm dropping him before week 1. I don't care because I've layered this team with enough, like, depth at running back and wide receiver. And the onesie positions, I mean, getting Laporta where I got him, and I'm not going to draft. If you're drafting a tight end early, don't draft, like, you either attack it the way that Florio did and you mix match like 2 guys and you're playing like upside and matchups, or you take the one guy early and you're not drafting the backup because he's never leaving your lineup.
I agree. All right, my roster. I actually like my team too. Look, all of us are kind of happy. That's nice. Joe Burrow, Josh Jacobs, James Cook, then Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Jordan Addison, Mark Andrews at tight end, Shakir. The bench is Drake May, Debo, Adam Thielen, Braylon Allen, Jalen McMillan, and Cedric Tillman. I'm a little light at running back, but I could always make a trade with Debo in this league because he's got a ton of running backs, and he needs more wide receiver help with all those kids who just don't know what the hell they're doing yet in the NFL. We hope that they're good eventually. But who won the draft in your opinion? Drop your comments below. Which of our teams do you like the most or hate the most? Whatever, just comment. We really don't care. We just want you to participate. It's all participation trophies here on the channel today. And of course, start running your mock draft simulations. It's never too early to get set up for your fantasy league. So go download Draft Wizard, the app, wherever you get your apps from, or go to fantasybros.com/draftwizard and use the mock draft simulator today. Michael Florio, always a pleasure seeing you. It's great to spend quality time with you. Hopefully we'll see you again in the weeks ahead as a guest. And I may be here, I may not. We'll see. We'll see. I might play hard to get.
Probably
again. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For D-Bro, Florio, and Scott Bogman, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.